Welcome to Mind Your Mind. Mind Your Mind podcast is for busy people like you who want to enjoy life and free up their time and emotional space by learning valuable tools for self-care and mindfulness. Our weekly topics are filled with compelling discussions and practical solutions to increase your productivity and healthy living. I'm your host, Joseph Tropper, and I'm honored to have you here with me today. Welcome to episode 5, 6 Ways to Let Go of the Past. Let's face it, we've all been hurt in so many different ways in life, whether friends, family, spouses, parents. We all have it. We all have that sadness and hurt and pain, but how do we let go of it? How do we stop holding resentment? And how do we forgive ourselves in a way that we can move forward and charge forth in success? Such an important topic. I'm going to tell you 6 ways that you could really make a difference, starting now. All right, let's start with the facts. I mean, when we have resentment and pain and hurt, we're holding around a lot of things. We're holding anger, we're holding depression, we're holding trauma, and sometimes re-traumatizing ourselves. And often this leads to poor choices. This leads to us lashing out. This leads to us hurting other people. This leads to us saying and doing things that we regret either shortly after or long after. So this is not really going to work. But let's talk about the pros. That's right. There are many pros of holding on to the past. Well, it's an adaptive measure for us. We learn from our past mistakes. We touch the fire, we burn our hand, and we learn that fire hurts. So there's a lot of positive in learning from our past and holding on to our past. Maybe we eat something like broccoli and we feel that it's bitter, we spit it out, and we stop liking broccoli. However, that adaptive part, which is so important, it also could backfire because sometimes we can learn not to trust people and not to be able to have intimate relationships or not to be able to forgive or not to be able to move forward in life and not to be able to stop judging ourselves and holding ourselves over accountable. And so I'm going to talk about today some suggestions and some real solid ways, 6 of them actually, to be able to let go of your past. But I'm going to start with a quote because I think it's just so brilliant. And it's from Carrie Fisher of Star Wars fame, and it's, in my opinion, the most solid quote that I love on resentment, and it's just so true and so painful. She says, "Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die." And that's really my theme today. We don't have to keep poisoning ourselves. So let's talk about it. First of all, it's an addiction. That resentment that we have that we're holding on to is the addict is addicted to their drug of choice. Well, when we get stuck in resentment and anger about ourselves, about other people, it's an addiction, and we need to look at it in a way that we're trying to stop it and not just accept it and say, okay, great, yeah, I'm upset, I'm hurt. No, you need to look at it as if it's an addiction that needs to be eradicated, and hey, this is not helping me by ruminating and thinking about it over and over again because it's pulling me out of the present and it's putting me 90% in the past, which makes 10% in the present, as opposed to the way we want to be living optimally, which is 90% of the present and maybe 10% just thinking about some of the past just so we don't get hurt again. Number 2, we cannot change the past. Rumination only increases the rage. We think that we need to express our anger. Yeah, it's true. We need to feel safe in a relationship, and we need to talk to people, especially our loved ones, and let them know that when we're hurt and how to do things in a different way. But it has to be to a point of understanding that, hey, all people make mistakes. We make mistakes. Others make mistakes. And so when we're thinking about something for more than 10 minutes at a time and not coming to any healthy conclusion or new resolutions about how to move forward, we're only hurting ourselves and we're only increasing the rage more and more. Number 3, it's an illusion of strength. When you think that you're resentful and that you have such a feisty comment to say and you could rip this person or you could talk about how much hate you have for them or yourself, self-loathing, that's an illusion of strength. But actually you're continuing to allow them or continuing to allow your mistakes to hold you hostage. The real strength comes from moving forward and saying, I'm going to move forward in this. I have other things to accomplish in my life, and I'm going to recognize that my greatest strength is my autonomy and my ability to move forward. That's where real strength is. Number 4, be aware of your own needs. HALT, H-A-L-T. It's a famous 12-step program line. It stands for hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, which means that if you find yourself in a place of resentment, maybe it's because you're weak in one of these 4 areas and your body is just needy. You're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, or you're tired. Well, that makes us more vulnerable to resentment. So take care of that need And you'll see that sometimes resentment will go away, not because you distracted yourself from it, but just because when we're in a vulnerable place and our body is needing things and resources, well, our mind isn't working as well. It's half occupied or even more than half occupied trying to get our hunger, anger, loneliness, or tiredness taken care of. Number 5, stop blaming yourself, but take responsibility for your part. So this is a 2-part thing. If there's resentment, whether it's against yourself even, or resentment against others, stop blaming yourself. Part of the resentment, the reason that we're so angry is, how did I let myself get duped? How could I be so foolish? Well, listen, we all make mistakes. You were trying your best. You thought you could trust this person, then you tried your best, and that's it. But at the same time, take responsibility for your part. Were you duped? Do you need to learn to be more vigilant and careful in other cases in a valid way? Or do you need to stop letting yourself get stepped on and walked all over? Maybe that's an important thing. Or were you part of the fight? Were you part of the negative words that were exchanged that ended up causing this fight? Such an important part. And finally, number 6, meet halfway or get away. This is so important. If you want to resolve the resentment and you want to resolve the fight, then talk to the person openly and honestly, if you're able to, and find a resolution where, hey, let's meet halfway, let's bridge this, and let's just kind of store it away and say, okay, here's how we're going to resolve it. Let's move forward. If you can't do that, then just get away from that person. Maybe that person is too sick to recognize that they're hurting you. Maybe the situation is one that will not allow for a repair. Whatever it is, then just know that it's time to get away, because if you just keep holding on to it, it's not going to get better on its own, and it's not going to make you feel any better. All right, a couple of practical solutions. First of all, if you're experiencing resentment, call it out. Just articulate it yourself. Say, I am feeling resentment. Just call a spade a spade. Also, try to talk to the person if you can, or try to talk it through with someone. Okay, one of the most important tips I can give you is self-validation. We feel invalidated by this person, and we feel like they're invalidating us. Again, you're giving them too much strength. Validate yourself. Practice self-validation. You're a good person. You make good choices. You're autonomous. You're strong. You're healthy. And this person might have a problem. Maybe they do, and they're not able to validate you for whatever reason. That's fine. Okay. Another way, if you're dealing with especially a loved one who you are trying to be connected with or trying to be in a relationship with, hear the other person's hurt instead of hearing their insults. Meaning, know that this is their way of expressing how hurt they are. It hurts you because it's coming out as them lashing out, but try to see through it and see what their needs are and what their pain is, and maybe you could deal with it that way. It doesn't mean that it's acceptable the way they're acting. It just means that, hey, maybe I can meet them halfway once again. But if you can't, then get away. Know when to call it quits. Sometimes you're banging your head against the wall for no reason, and there's just nothing to do about it. In which case, you still need to forgive yourself, and you still need to move forward, but maybe that person is not willing to apologize. Got one question today from Marshall in Wyoming, and once again, I welcome all questions at mindyourmindonline.com. Great to hear from everybody. If I'm unable to forgive my dad for what he did to me throughout my childhood, will I always carry the resentment with me? I want to clarify something that's very important to that question. I'm not professing forgiveness. For me, forgiveness is a spiritual thing. That's a religious choice, whether you want to forgive someone. And I know that I might use the word self-forgiveness as well, but I don't mean it that way in a spiritual sense. Whether or not you forgive someone is your choice. I'm talking about holding on the resentment that you're constantly carrying around and letting them continue to occupy your mind. That's where I come in with a mental health statement of, hey, you don't have to do this to yourself. So if you're self-resenting, it's time to let go of that and say, I made mistakes and I'm still a good person and I can move forward from this. That's what we're talking about. So if you're not able to forgive your dad, look, it sounds like things are really difficult between you and your dad. And maybe you've tried talking to him, maybe you haven't tried using these 6 suggestions that I started off with. Maybe that could help you let go of the past. But if you're not able to forgive him, then just quarantine it. Listen, I'm upset, I'm hurt, he wronged me. Self-validate yourself and move on. No, you don't have to carry the resentment part of it, because the resentment is what bogs you down and makes your life even more heavy. In closing, we can overcome resentment. It's hard, it's difficult. Remember, it's an adaptive response that we have. It's built into us in a way to protect ourselves so that we're self-validating and so that we don't get hurt again. However, it sometimes backfires when it becomes the focus of our lives. We need to be able to free that emotional space so we could provide a safe and healthy environment for ourselves and our loved ones. And if you do this, I think that you will have much success in your process of letting go, and it's a great thing. Always remember to mind your mind. Take care. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to mind your mind. For more practical ideas and to make sure you never miss an episode, visit us at mindyourmindonline.com.